Okay, hey, Bill, I think we got a special treat tonight for our listeners and viewers.
Is it like an Ellen giveaway?
It's a little behind the scenes look. It's a pre-show peek into what makes this so special.
A pre-show?
A pre-show peek, yeah. Kind of like, you go to the concert and you get to go in early and meet everybody backstage. This is a virtual meet everybody backstage.
Ooh.
I know, it's exciting.
Behind the stage, excessive celebration.
That's right, where the celebration does get
excessive.
All
right, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm feeling this fan come back on in here, but the temperature's down a little bit, so things are looking good. I bet somebody at some point would just want to say to us, Bill, I think what they want to say is, you guys gripe when it's cold, you gripe when it's hot. Where do you have to be to enjoy the temperature? And I've got the answer.
In between the oven and the refrigerator.
Perfect. until one of them beeps. We have a refrigerator. When you leave the refrigerator door open, it starts beeping. Do you know how frustrating that is, Bill?
It's super frustrating.
It is when you're trying to get something out late at night when you shouldn't be eating anything. And you're still standing there looking in there, and all of a sudden it starts beeping, and I'm going, oh, I know who's hearing this. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, she's going to know I got some more pudding out, or maybe some Jell-O.
All the horse hooves.
That's right.
What do you say we kick off this show, Scott?
I'm up.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Excessive celebration. 2. 1. 0.
Already got Billy laughing at me. I don't even know what I've done yet because I'm blind here. I'm flying blind.
I was troubleshooting the same thing that we had issues with last week.
And
we're good to go.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. I was feeling a little like JFK Jr. there. Can't see the horizon, can't see the ocean. Doesn't matter now. I got my co-pilot over here that's got to be guiding us. And one thing, Bill, if I can't see it, I had some broccoli for dinner, so if there's like any giant, plant-like fibrous thing coming off of me.
I'm not telling you about it.
Oh, man.
I'm not telling you about that.
Well, I'm sure people will tell me soon enough. We're getting some Facebook chatter. Facebook, it's perfect.
It's funny you mentioned broccoli. So my wife tells me the other day that my son ate broccoli. He requested it, right? I'm not a broccoli fan. I can't eat broccoli.
Okay. I eat it with cheese on it. That's how I force it down.
I was going to say it shocks me because my son is a little bit of a picky eater because he goes through like the weird phases of only having waffles or only having whatever to eat.
Right.
And it shocked me that he requested broccoli.
Albert broccoli?
I'm just surprised it didn't have like sugar on top of it. He's a big
Splenda. That's what you ought to do. Just put Splenda on everything.
He's like me because I like. I'm not a real big chocolate guy, but I like sour things.
Yeah.
So he likes Sour Patch Kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love sour things.
Yeah, I do too. I like when they have those. You chew them up, and they were had I don't know, something in there that would make your mouth like fizz all up and everything, but they were real sour on the out, like Zots or something like that.
Oh, no.
You remember those?
Yeah. Stay away.
Well, it depends on what kind of nowadays, if you got the right, everybody's got a video camera, so you could make some really interesting slow-mo selfies like the commercials now with a bunch of Zots in your mouth.
Or those weird, are you familiar at all with TikTok videos?
Help me.
Like they have a 30-second song and you do whatever random nonsense and then they can slow it down, rewind it, and do all this. It's beyond me, but
how is that different than most everything that I hear
I don't
from
know.
a pop music
I don't know.
standpoint
It's one of the weirdest fads I've ever seen in my life. Like a guy will walk out the door, it'll be raining, he'll drop his phone, all of a sudden it'll reverse. The water, the raindrops like slowly accelerate back up into the sky. Then he turns around and he's got a white wig on. Or it's crazy.
So it's like people doing their own music videos, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. I assume that's what I don't know. No, it's somebody else's song, just whatever random song, and then they make some kind of video, and then it goes viral, and then 50 billion other people decide that they're going to do the same thing in a different way to up one another, and
That's amazing. You know what else is amazing? That we haven't identified who we are, the show we're on, the venue,
This
any
is
of that.
Excessive Celebration, home of TikTok videos.
Apparently so. And home of Crossover Sports Radio, of which we are proudly representing tonight. Billy Bell, Scott Owens, still flying blind. I'll figure it out at the break or not. Not that it really matters. Bill, what a great weekend. We're going to reek the show. And again, Bill,
We're going to reek?
we're already reeking.
Reek.
What I really like about this time of year, though, is things kind of slow down a little bit, is that we can kind of dive into a little more stuff and not be so regimented as far as our time is lined up.
I was gonna say, do you realize we're getting closer and closer to our year anniversary? When we first started this show, no sports were happening.
That's right. We were the sports.
None. We were talking about what? Who's going to OU next year?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the Thunder?
Right.
They're going to be terrible. Oh, wait a
Yes.
minute. No, they're not.
One thing in sports was happening last year.
What's that?
The Astros and the Red Sox were cheating.
But we didn't know it.
No.
And possibly Tony La Russa.
You know, it's amazing, Bill. And by the way, congratulations. And this is something that I know my lovely sister-in-law, Gail, who claims to have always been a huge Yankees fan, although I think it had a little bit more to do with a certain brand new Hall of Fame inductee than it did the pinstripes or the geography. But congratulations to Derek Jeter for getting in.
How is he not unanimous?
Because there's a D-bag out there somewhere.
Like Rivera's still the only one, right?
Yes.
Derek Jeter was baseball.
Derek Jeter is as close to being a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer as anyone that ever played, as far as I'm concerned. And I have people that know me that are absolutely having cardiac arrest right now and falling out of their chair. But the tough thing about doing a show like this is that if you want to have people pay attention, you have to put your personal feelings aside and just say, gosh, this guy was baseball.
You know, the best thing is, so the play he makes against Oakland where he's coming across the field and picks up the throw from right field and then pitches it backwards to get the guy at plate. If you read a lot of comment boards, it's, well, he shouldn't even have been there. He was out of place and he had no reason to be there. It is hilarious.
Oh, man.
Which technically they're not wrong, but
he still made the play.
He made a great play. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, how many times do you think in the history of some of the greatest sports athletes that have done amazing things that prior to that amazing thing, their coach, manager, teammates were going, no!
Right.
Oh, awesome.
What's more surprising, that he didn't get unanimous or that Larry Walker is in?
I think Larry Walker would have been one of those guys that, in my opinion, would have run out of time, and then later on down the line when they were looking to throw some more Colorado Rockies or, whatever obscure team that doesn't have enough people in there, almost as a parting gift.
Well, so
the home version.
The issue I have with Larry Walker, and there's a couple of them, but Larry Walker was a great player. I mean, he wasn't superhero-like. Like, you think of Derek Jeter, you think this guy is phenomenal. He's not going to hit for a ton of power, but he's going to get on base, and he's going to be a defensive wizard. Larry Walker, who is just now going to be recently inducted into Colorado's Hall of Fame in their little ring, with Todd Helton.
Well, yeah, and you're not talking about a storied program that's been around since the 1890s or something.
Right, and when you think of the Rockies, there's only a few names that come to mind. He does happen to be one of them, but a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I'm not saying he isn't, but But Bill, I agree with you. Now, if he throws a little more bling around and maybe it acts a little more crazy when he knocks one out and points at the pitcher, does he draw more attention to himself? Does he now have street cred? Do people see him differently? That's the other side of it. But at the very base of what he did and how he did it, he doesn't shine.
I will say the best thing and the most important thing I will ever remember from Larry Walker is the All-Star game where he's facing Randy Johnson. And just toying with him. Randy throws just a heater above his head, right? And Walker falls down and gets back up, and he puts his helmet on backwards, and there's just like no chance, and fans that two of the pitches.
That's beautiful.
It was great. That's when baseball was fun.
Yeah,
right.
Except for
PEDs, yes.
Well, I was going to say, except if you're a Dove in spring training and Randy Johnson's pitching.
Oh yeah, that's when Doves.
Or was it a pigeon?
I think it was a pit. Well, no, it was. I think it
was a dove.
Yeah, it was a dove.
You know what happened when that dove got hit? What came out of it was cocaine that landed on that kid's car.
That kid's car, yeah.
Poor guy.
Oh man, Randy Johnson, man, crazy. Like I can't even imagine because Larry Walker was left-handed, so I can't even imagine stepping into the box to face the fastball. And then B, to face that slider that you're never going to touch as a left-hander.
Bill, I'm lucky enough to have a couple of nieces that played college softball at quite a high level. In fact, one of my nieces was the MVP of the NAIA College World Series that they play in Decatur, Alabama. She was a pitcher for Oklahoma City University and was very good. My other niece pitched for up at Dodge City and then William Woods College in Missouri. And I will tell you, my niece that still, I think she may still do some teaching and pitching. I much less want to get in the batter's box and try to. I didn't like going in the backyard and catching for her. There was nothing fun about that. And if I would be intimidated to try to hit off of Lindsay, then I'm pretty sure the slowest, smallest guy at a ball in Schenectady would have scared me to death. I can't imagine Randy Johnson.
So I remember going out and my dad playing catch with me, right? And so I played a little bit of pitcher at one point in time, and I never threw it hard, but I realized soon that I could throw different pitches. So I could throw the curveball, I could throw the slider. Almost mastered the knuckleball. Only ever threw it one time in a game just to see what it would do. I can only imagine, because now my son's going to play baseball. He actually starts it, I believe, this spring or summer or whatever we're going into.
Pitchers and catchers already.
It's all running together at this point because
they're reporting already. The pitchers and catchers.
We're playing 3 different sports, so it's really confusing.
Baseball's the one with the cup. If that helps.
It's the one with the camera by the trash can. It's amazing. Like
coming to a city near.
I can only imagine when my son starts throwing like curveballs and like knuckle curveballs and stuff at me. Because I remember like my curveball wasn't super sharp, but my slider was, and it was always going down at about that 45-degree angle that easy enough to maybe. Or hard enough to hit. I can only imagine trying to catch that because there wasn't too many kids when I was doing it throwing that stuff because that was when, you're not supposed to throw sliders and curveballs that hurt your arm. Well, now you can't throw fastballs. You can only throw X amount of fastballs. I can't wait, but I'm going to be padded up for sure.
I don't blame you. When we come back, and I guess we're probably pretty quick to needing to do that, we'll recap what happened last weekend NFL-wise. We'll talk a little bit about Southern Nazarene basketball.
Something happened in
Southern
the NFL?
Nazarene is hot. They're on a 4-game winning streak. And we'll talk more about that. And then I've got a real quick story to tell you, a baseball story from a friend of mine about another really good friend of mine. The other guy is someone that everybody, or most everybody that's an OU football fan will know. And a little insight into his father and managing against an umpire that may not be calling balls and strikes appropriately.
Oh, you tease.
You might say that.
Listening.
That's what I hear anyway.
To Excessive Celebration on Crossover Radio Sports. Reminding you, go out and get that app today. Also, come in to serve. Get you fresh beverage, coffee. It's for you.
And we are back. No, really, we are back.
Back again.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to be anywhere, really, because if you ain't where you're at, you're nowhere.
You're in the last place you looked.
That's right.
Hey, just I always tell people, so when people ask me where stuff is, and that saying always comes to mind, it's in the last place you look.
Right.
I always tell people, we'll keep looking, so it's not the last place you look. I don't know why, but that saying bugs me. No idea why.
What I don't like is when I'll lose something, and then my wife's, all she's trying to do is help me. But she'll start with, well, did you look? Of course I looked there. Well, did you? Of course. And then after about the third time I'm acting, less than pleasant about it, well, just find it yourself. Well, I was kind of planning on that. I just wanted to gripe about losing it. I really didn't need you to ask me if it was, on my head, which is where I usually find my glasses when I can't find them. Little Fred Mertz like. Bill, Southern Nazarene. Jonathan Dunn, 70 points in the last 2 games. Southern Nazarene is on a tear. They won 4 in a row. They're now 13-5 overall with a 722 winning percentage, 7-3 in conference. And let's not forget, Crossover Sports' own Luke McConnell, play-by-play voice
Luke
of SNU, the Crimson Storm. Last week, big wins against OBU by 17, 79-62 at the Sawyer Center. They followed that up, Bill, with a thumping of the Tigers from Pontotoc County. That's right, East Central, 88-63. Dunn, 42 against East Central, 28 against OBU. Micah Spite rolled in 24 in the win over OBU. This Thursday, they head to Arkansas Monticello for a 7:30 showdown. It'll be on Crossover Sports Radio. And then Saturday, Bill, this game compelled me so much, got me so interested when I found out who they were playing, looked a little bit about this school, that it created a whole other half of a segment for us to talk about. Because Saturday in Magnolia, Arkansas, they take on the Southern Arkansas University Mule Riders.
All right.
And the Mule Riders made me decide I need to take a look at some of these great names from at least, I wouldn't, there's like 300 D1 teams. So I'm going to throw some names at you later on in our college basketball segment and see if you can match up the school, the name with the school, because I promise you I couldn't.
I guarantee you.
It'll be fun, though.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're playing Southern Nazarene, employ the James Harden defense. Just double him at the line.
You better.
Make him give it up and let somebody else.
He is lighting it up, Bill.
You said 72?
Yeah. No, he's got 70 in the last 2 games.
Oh, man.
Yeah, 42 against East Central and 28 against OBU. And then, like I mentioned, Micah Spite's one of the other guards. But they're lighting it up, Bill. As I said, they've won 4 in a row. The Mule Riders now are 7-9 overall, 4-6 in conference, 5-2 at home. Bill, because this was a team that was different from the teams that the Southern Nazarene football team played this conference, I wanted to take a little step further and tell you a little bit about Arkansas Southern, okay? Southern Arkansas University. I'm going to throw 3 names your way. Let me see if you, or 4 famous alumni. I want you to see if you know any of these names. Cedric Thornton.
No.
Cedric played in the NFL.
Okay.
Jordan Babineau.
That sounds familiar.
Played in the NFL. Tracy Lawrence.
The country singer?
Yes.
Okay.
And finally,
little Texas tornado out there.
That's right. And finally,
my wife would be proud that I know that.
There you go. Tommy Tuberville.
Oh, yeah, I know Tommy Tuberville.
That's right. Yeah. So, this is big time, man. So that'll be a lot of fun. That's a pretty good list. Yeah, and I didn't, they aren't
outside the 2 guys I didn't know, but both
of those guys have multiple years of NFL experience.
I was going to say there's a lot of schools that don't even have one.
Right.
That's a pretty good list.
Yeah, and this is not a little school in Magnolia, and apparently not in the same conference football-wise, but they certainly have a viable and a valid football program there.
How could you not be? You got 2 NFL players.
I'm telling you. We're also going to talk a little bit, Bill, about the Super Bowl being set. We'll break down the Packers' demise. I got questions for you about the future of 2 of the icons. We'll talk a little bit about what happens with Rodgers and what happens with Brady. And, Bill, what that created was a tie at the end of the year with 1 game to go between Sky Q and I. Billy, you hold the golden envelope from Funkin' Wagnall that's hermetically sealed with the information in there. And I have a feeling he and I picked the same teams, and I have a feeling after the more I thought about it that he was going to go lower than me on the score, and I'm going to lose this thing. But
I don't know.
We'll have to see.
You guys did it a little bit differently, but I mean, I can add, and we can figure it out on the tie break.
Yeah, it's the more I thought about it, the more I thought this game's going to be a little lower than what I thought, and. But who knows? Who knows?
Okay, so I'm going to say this. The most underwhelming Super Bowl that could have came out of this is these two teams.
Why is that?
I
You
just-
wanted
I
you
can't-
wanted Tennessee and Green Bay?
I can't get excited for this.
See, I'm unbelievably excited for it.
I'm not. Like, I was really amped up, and I would have been really, really just stoked to see Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes go at it. As far as excitement level, I think that would have been better. Coming
Well,
off
if you're looking at quarterback to quarterback, I agree. I mean, when one guy goes 6 for 8,
yeah,
and that's what he does.
hey, you can't beat Tannehill.
I was actually thinking of Jimmy G.
You can't beat. How about that? What if that was the matchup? So,
Oh,
San
how that would be.
Francisco-
Well,
I mean,
the game would be over in 2.5 hours.
That game would probably have been worse, but this one I just don't. I
Oh,
can't,
see,
I can't
here's
do it.
why I like it. You've got two totally different offensive philosophies. You've got one guy that had to buy into it, and Andy Reid over time. They're completely different offensively in what they do. Defensively, San Francisco has been unbelievable and has been looked upon as stout and stoic and rock-like all this time, where Kansas City has been kind of picked on and scrutinized defensively for a while. Well, all they did was turn around and the reason I'm picking Kansas City, there you have it, is because they did have the ability to shut down the run game with Derrick Henry. The stats don't lie there. And I think that they may have the opportunity to do that. I just don't know if San Francisco can keep up. No matter how stout they are defensively, I just think Kansas City just keeps throwing athletes at you.
I'll be interested to see if Mahomes goes after Sherman at all. He's not the same cornerback of old.
No. But he's wily.
It feels like guys are still threatened by him on that side of the field.
Well, I just think his overall presence, I mean, the guy probably...
He knows how to stay with people at this point. I mean, he's not super fast, but he knows how to stay with people. He knows how to play with contact. I don't know. I just can't get amped up for this one for some reason.
See, I am just the opposite. I would have preferred, frankly, even though I picked San Francisco, since I'm 131 years old, I would have preferred to have had a rematch from the very first Super Bowl, because I think that would have been great. And how great would it have been on the 100th anniversary of football to have the rematch of the very first Super Bowl.
And I don't think enough is said for what John Lynch has brought and done to this team.
I think that's fair.
San Francisco was by far one of the worst teams. And now you look at it, and I've been criticizing them all year because it's just a bunch of guys that either are near the end of their contracts or just getting into their contracts, or guys that couldn't make a one team or now on another team.
But from a financial standpoint, Bill, that's
perfect.
kind of that's kind of the way to do it.
It's essentially they followed the Eagles model, but they did it better. And then they found the pieces that fit
Don
their
Henley
team's
or
need.
Glenn Fry or
and he's done it masterfully.
Yeah.
I mean, he has worked this process out. Do they have the greatest quarterback? No, but he doesn't commit the big turnover.
No,
he will throw it away occasionally, but it's not like earth-shattering if he commit it.
Right.
He's finding guys off of other teams' practice squads to come run the ball. I mean, the amount of running backs. So these two teams are very similar, and the running back position has killed him this year because of injuries.
Yes.
Wide receivers, outside of Tyreek Hill, they've got some impressive wide receivers for Kansas City.
Sammy.
He's off and on. Sammy Watkins.
He had a
good
game. He had a big game last week.
He's one of those guys that kills you, especially like in fantasy leagues, because you think he's got a good matchup, and he won't produce. But then he goes against the toughest defense, and he's out there 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, what are you doing? Like, and everything that they do is a bunch of crossing routes, and then they'll hit you long.
See, I have Samantha Ryan in my fantasy league. But that's it.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. That's what it would take.
So it's...
Call me Sam.
Think about this on the Kansas City side is if they really do, because I don't think he's fully caught up and he's fully there yet. Give him another year. But Hardman could be another game changer for this team. Not that he already isn't, but his ability with Tyreek's ability to run all these wide receiver screens, to run the motions, to run the jet sweeps, I'm not going to say he's just as fast as Tyreek, because Tyreek is super fast. Yeah, like it still amazes me that he chased that dude down that's on his own team. Like you're 20 yards back and you just no, that shouldn't happen.
That shouldn't be physically possible.
It's almost like me back in my day.
Bill, I think one of the things you're saying too is the guy doesn't have to be quite there, but think of the stress that puts on your defense. One guy comes out and the next guy's the mirror image and still creates the same issues for your defense. It never goes away.
And as strong as Patrick Mahomes' arm is, I still don't believe he can out throw Tyreek.
No
way.
No.
There's no way.
No. Bill, I got some interesting stats and some questions and some observations here from those two games. We got time for that, or we need to come back?
No, we're good. I was going to say, quick shout out to the people in the chat. We appreciate you. Chase, I'm sorry about our Vikings too. We did not show up. Sad day.
Well, they got past one, and Bill, we talked about the Vikings, and both of us felt like they were a team that could get at least to the Final Four, and I think they kind of got to where we thought they would get.
They, it's hard to tell what this team needs, right? So they look like
and they lost their OC,
team.
Right?
They
went to Cleveland.
They look like a complete
handsome
team,
dude,
and he's very. They're very set on running the ball, which I get it. Dalvin Cook's a beast, but when your quarterback doesn't, at least about halfway through the season, doesn't feel like he trusts his wide receiver, and then they only target one wide receiver, whether that's the game plan or not, they need to spread the ball around. They need to take it vertical, especially with this group of wide receivers, especially with this tight end that you've got. Half the year, it didn't even seem like the tight end was even in the game. Then you got another tight end in Irv Smith who looks like he could be a lot better than Kyle Rudolph. I mean, they're set up well for the future. The defense is only aging, so you're going to have to refurbish the defense back in this draft. I think you need a little bit more offensive line help. And then, I'm sorry to say it, but Kirk Cousins is probably going to get re-signed by the Vikings based on that playoff win. Kirk Cousins, they need to draft a quarterback behind Kirk Cousins.
Do you think there was ever any thought when the Vikings were watching Teddy Bridgewater keep the boat afloat down in New Orleans? Do you think there was any remorse there in terms of?
I don't think so. They mutually parted ways on pretty good terms.
Well, and his injury was devastating at the time, wasn't it? I mean,
Teddy.
I hope he gets somewhere, though, Bill.
When they drafted Teddy, they really did look at Teddy as the future of the organization. When I watched Teddy play through all those years, you saw glimpses of what they saw, but there were aspects of it where it was like, okay, he's rookie or second year.
Kind of Lamar Jackson-like in a way.
No, he doesn't run. He doesn't run.
Well, I just meant some of the decision-making where you know you kind of have to pay the price to have him out there.
And I don't want to say Teddy's arm isn't as good. It's strong, but it's not as good. But he's got better touch than Lamar does. Overall, Teddy is just a quality human being. Nothing but respect.
Right.
For
Teddy.
For Teddy. He wasn't going to be that quarterback that was going to amaze you every game, but he's not going to commit turnovers. He's going to get you down the field. And we saw what he did in New Orleans. I mean,
probably not going to go Facebook Live in the locker room if he has a problem with somebody.
Well, we won't find that out until later.
Leave that to us.
Listen. After he retires, it's nothing but he did cocaine.
Yeah, with Drew Brees and his wife at the
mixer
Tipitino's with the Neville brothers.
No, but it's one of those things. I really hope he lands somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him go to like Tampa Bay where he's going to struggle because they have
That's
nobody.
Where decent quarterbacks go to throw up on themselves.
Yeah, I feel like Tampa Bay is going to give Jameis 1 more year or 2 more years.
Yeah. Oh, we got to talk a little bit more when we get to NFL, Bill, specifically about what's Carolina going to do. because that fascinates me. I think they're going to try to make something happen and try to get that first pick and get Burrow.
I don't know.
Be interesting what they would try to put together to make
Would
that
you not
happen.
play it out one more year with Cam and try and get Lawrence?
I don't know that it needs to be. No, because the offensive coordinator didn't coach Lawrence. He coached Joe Burrow. I'd go get Burrow.
You could have a transition year.
Yeah, man, I don't know.
I mean, it's a lot to pay, but
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And can you afford to lose any more fan base by not doing something that is as exciting as everyone thought Cam was going to be?
It just feels like it should work, right? Cam and McCaffrey feels like it should work.
Kind of like Westbrook and Durant feels like it should work.
But when you don't set them up with anything else, it's never going to
Now,
work.
see, Billy and Scott doesn't feel like it should work, but my goodness.
It's like mayonnaise and ketchup.
Like butter.
You put it on everything. Excessive Celebration, Crossover Radio Sports. Get that app.
Schmear it.
Save that horse.
Jello jump. Thanks, honey.
It's a mean piano or keyboard he's playing there. Super mean.
Probably just on a phone, on an app or something.
Probably is nowadays.
Boy, I still got it, man. I go yeehaw.
That delay's catching up.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah. Little Gangnam.
Real quick, I'd like to remind our listeners that are listening on Crossover Radio Sports, catch up with us on Facebook, Excessive Celebration. Check out when we are live, and you can enter our chat room. You can talk to us, like one Mr. Chase. He's got several questions for us, Scott.
Awesome.
One, was that the whip and the nay-nay?
I all of my functions like that are for me, not for anyone else.
I feel like you whipped, but you didn't hit the nay-nay.
In my heart, I did.
Okay, it counts.
Yeah.
It's counts.
Yeah. When you get to be my age, you just fill in the gaps with however you want it to play out.
Most of
It's
the time,
great.
it's a crack, snap, or pop.
Well, I was telling somebody the other day about our conversation about the older you get, the more sounds you make getting in and out of just a chair.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Chase, thank you so much. And Bill, fire away. Let's hear what Chase has to say.
Chase would like to know.
He's a Vikings fan, correct?
He is a Vikings fan.
Good for him. Good
Skull
for him.
Vikings. Let's go. Next year will probably not be our year either.
Hey, Bill, one of the most memorable nights I ever had, I was in Minneapolis. I think I told you I'm pretty good friends and have been with a guy that played for University of Minnesota and then was a backup tight end for the Vikings.
Brock Lesnar.
Guy named,
No.
no, actually his name is Jeff. Jeff Selleck, as a matter of fact.
Ooh, related to Brent?
No,
I think I've
or
asked you that.
Tom.
I think I've asked you
Not
that
related
before.
to Tom.
No
either.
mustache?
No,
I
no.
can't be a fan.
But
I can't
we
be a
were
fan.
actually he does have a mustache.
right.
Yeah, big guy. We were in a establishment having dinner, and we'd finished dinner, and there was a bunch of guys that were playing softball. This was in Minneapolis. And they come in and they're like a softball version of the Minnesota Vikings, right? They're wearing Viking helmets.
All right.
And they've had a few beverages. Somebody puts in New York, New York on the jukebox. There was a jukebox in there. And this guy was probably about 6'3", I'm going to say 290-ish. And not in football shape, in beer league softball shape.
That's a big old boy.
Gets up
6'3", 290.
and disrobes to New York, New York. And so whenever I think of the Minnesota Vikings, I think, well, that was one festive visual, and I'll never feel the same way about Sinatra again. So what was his question?
Chase would like to know, with the known health issues associated in playing football, do you see a future in the sport of football? If so, how long do you think it will keep going? Also, do you think there's going to be any kind of technological, easy for everybody else to say but me,
Tecmo Bowl logical.
Bo Jackson, advancements to make the game safe?
I think he answered his own question. I think football will survive because there's so much money to be made. I think the changes will be mandated because that's what markets do to survive. They change, they adapt, and someday, you guys, is Chase close to your age, Bill?
Probably about a decade younger than
Okay, so there'll be a time when you guys will be talking about how football doesn't look anything like it did
right.
when we're having this conversation
yeah,
the same way I do now.
I was going to say even now. I mean, the
Certainly.
advancements over in the last 7 years
Yeah.
of the air raid and everything like that's going on, even
Sure.
more so than it was. You know,
Right.
Where's the fullback position anymore?
Well, and even in terms of technology and how they build helmets and how they study
right.
concussion issues with the style of helmets and the things they're doing. So the short answer, Chase, is yes, it will survive. The long answer is it will have to adapt to whatever there is that requires people to be able to make the kind of profit that they can make with the risk associated with hiring people that can play a game that can kill them. So there, at some point, liability insurance, the cost of liability weighs in so heavily that changes will have to be made. I mean, it's kind of like everybody thought amusement parks were going to go away because nobody could afford the liability insurance. Guess what? They charged a lot more. People still are willing to pay, and I think that's what you'll see in any product or market that wants to survive. They adapt and stay profitable.
I agree with you on the equipment issue. They've expanded so much as far as, everybody's having to change helmets now.
Right.
I mean, we heard the big debate with Tom Brady
Right.
and all of them not wanting to change, and
Odell.
trying to adapt to
Your boy that I can't say his name.
I know
That guy.
I was going to say it too, and I was like, I
No.
can't say it. And that's a far cry from back in the day when Ed McCaffrey never wore pads and would just run down the field and just get hit and just take it, right?
Yeah, he
So-
wore like breathe rights on his shoulder.
Right. Is that Band-Aids on his knee? So then you get into, I take this question a little bit different way as far as the future of football. I think what you're going to see is more guys getting a shot. We've already seen guys leave the profession of football a lot earlier than we have before.
Sure.
A lot of guys
Yeah.
are 1 year to 2 year contracts now. Billy Badgema
Right.
played at OSU.
Yeah, Moore
who
High School.
Smart as can be. I think went on to be a doctor, if I'm not mistaken.
And a
Um,
pizza restaurant owner.
I thought you were going to say pizza delivery guy. I was like, what?
No.
That's a weird combo. But a smart guy, right? And he only played 6 or 8 years in the NFL, and then was like, nope, I'm done.
Niners.
Like I'm done.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to. Doug Baldwin's another guy that comes to mind.
Johnny
just recently.
Manziel.
Yeah.
Well, I'm done. I'm through with you people. No, but go ahead, Bill. I understand your point, though.
that's one of those things I think we're going to see more of, and where you're going to get a lot of guys you probably saw a little bit in college, but they're going to even the running backs nowadays that are going to the three-tier running back system.
Sure.
To where you can
It's load management. It's not
rotate, so you don't
it.
get that Monty Ball effect where this
Right.
guy ran so much in college and for some reason can't run in the NFL.
So with an economic model like that, Bill, then guys, I mean, you don't look at it as an entire career and then you die early. You go make that first big paycheck.
Right.
You get paid. You set yourself up, and then you get out. And I think that's a model, though, that will help extend the life of professional football.
Well, and I think
Not shorten it.
the downside to all that is you do have those, well, I don't even want to call them rare because it's probably more than what we think, those guys who don't know a life after football.
Right.
Who, I mean, just to say it, to come to mind, Adrian Peterson, who's already in debt, right?
Yeah.
He's not finished playing football and has no money.
Yeah, but Bill, I see him as kind of the old guard. I think so
Right.
much has happened that people are so much more aware. Junior high concussion is, I mean, everybody knows
'Cause-
it's out there, and I think you plan your career nowadays a little differently than I'm going to play until I drop and make as much money as I can.
Didn't Dion and like Jerry Rice start this thing of whenever guys get drafted, they go in and talk to them
Yes.
about, hey, you need to save your money. And if you don't save your money, and it sounds awesome that you're getting $50 million and this, you're the Hyundai spokesman and all this stuff. And then 2 years later, you're that guy that we see behind the scenes that is, well, I have 4 kids and
Right.
I have no money and I work at a Burger King down the road.
And a guy promised me that my investments would be fine, and they're not. You know, Tony Dorsett, that happened to him. You know, obviously back then less money, but same impact. If you lose everything you have, and that happened to him too. But Bill, there is so much training now. These guys, they get so much mentoring. You know, whether it's from their reputable agent and certainly from the team when they sit down. A lot of that is almost like another college course in
Yeah.
street, what was it, business math,
Right,
something
right.
like that.
Well, and Chase brings up another good point. As time progresses, more and more families are hesitant to let their kids play football, and sadly he feels that it's an impact on the life of the sport. He also validates us and agrees with our point. Validated, blue check.
You know, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. So then it's football's responsibility to be able to compel people to take another look based on changes, based on new techniques, new technology. And I'm with you, Chase. Whether we're talking the football or a chemical or some toy,
Bubble wrap.
it either survives in the market or it doesn't, and it has to adapt and change to keep current customers and to attract new ones. And that's what we're talking about, a product. But yeah, the only thing scarier than that is how many kids aren't playing baseball anymore.
Right.
But for all other reasons. But yeah, Chase, you're spot on, and I really appreciate your comments.
I really think, though, that you're never going to take injury completely out of this game. It's never going to happen. The game's way too fast. At a younger age, it's you can maintain it to some degree or control it a little easier. Whether it's starting them off in flag football or how to tackle right, especially now, because there was a big growth period where the guys in the NFL still couldn't figure it out, and these are guys that have played it all their lives.
Right. Well, that's part of it.
Yeah, trained one way. So now you're getting this kind of new wave, and it hurts and helps the game. It makes it safer, but we see it with a lot of times. So if you watch CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah.
So CeeDee Lamb will catch the ball in space. There's a lot of guys that fear that big hit across the middle because they're going to feel like they're getting targeted and you're kicked out of the game. So it hurts.
Now think about what you just said,
play,
Bill.
Right?
Who fears the big hits now coming across the middle?
It's got to be the safeties or anybody on defense.
Not the offense. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's such a profound statement in terms of how. I'll just tell you one thing.
I make one every year. That's all I got.
Well, you'd be pretty good going into spring, I think. Bill Young used to allow one personal foul penalty by the defensive secondary, and it had to happen in the first quarter. Why do you suppose that was? So that
set the tone.
That's exactly right. So that's where we are now. Now we're at a point where the defensive backs have to be afraid to hit anybody.
Well, and see, so if you're a coach looking at that, right, you're going to take that so many different ways, right, depending on the style of coach, the temperament, and everything. I would be elated. I'm sorry. If a guy if I got Steve Atwater on my team and Steve Atwater comes across the middle and lays a dude out, I'm all for player safety. But I'm not going to let him let up on a guy just because he might get thrown.
I mean, I'd still coach Tatum and Atkinson to play the same way they did, or Mel Blount, or any of those guys there.
There's a lot of those plays that I think guys get thrown out for that are you can't change no matter what you do.
No, I agree.
Because for
it's
whatever,
happening too fast.
Because the wide receiver tilted his body one way and you were aiming that way already. I mean, who's to say that it's not the foul on the wide receiver at that point because of how he angled and saw you come? I mean, there's so many variables in all of that it's hard to throw somebody out because you really don't want to.
Right.
But at the same point, to stay safe, and you do have those Vontaze Burficts that can't ever really figure it out kind of guys, but to stay safe, you have to throw some people out occasionally.
Yeah.
It makes it tough to coach, but it can be done.
You know, one thing, Bill, that will not be a factor for the Chiefs secondary because San Francisco only throws the ball 8 times a game. So, Bill, I just want to throw these stats at you just real quick.
What if Jimmy G just comes out and just lights it up?
Hey, I'm still convinced that if you can win with Trent Dilfer, if you can win.
Oh, yeah, if you can win with Trent
frankly,
Dilfer.
Flacco, for that matter. He had a couple of decent years. But
Flacco, when they won the Super Bowl, was legitimate. And that was when it
was his last year of his contract.
And I'm really surprised that didn't work out in Denver. I thought it would have worked out a little bit better.
Oh, that was what you were mentioning Lynch earlier, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Who's a better general manager, Lynch or Elway?
Well, it's easily Lynch.
I think so too. Isn't that amazing?
When do you get tired of Elway and just like, no,
3 years ago.
We're good.
If I was a Denver fan, I'd already be tired of him. Although, I'm not, so.
You do. I don't think this is happening because I think it's Elway calling the shots, but you do have those guys. So who was it? Holmgren, when he coached in like Green Bay, he was like the GM.
Yeah.
So he had. I think that's a better fit than having one guy, or unless you're on the same page. Like the Saints, I feel like they're on the same page, right? Unless you have that one guy who kind of like Bill Belichick, I trust all day.
Sure.
But you give me
Freddie Kitchens?
No, I can't trust you to do both. I can't even trust you to do one.
What about Jason Garrett?
Is that not weird?
The whole thing
He's
is.
going to the Giants, and if this guy fails, he's probably going to slide into the Giants.
Yeah. How about, hey,
I don't need to see more
let's,
Jason Garrett. How about less Jason Garrett?
how about we had this meal 2 weeks ago. I ate it. I don't care if I ever have it again. But let's go ahead and eat it again tomorrow night. That's what the whole Jason. Okay, listen to this, Bill. First downs, Green Bay 21, San Francisco 19. Passing first downs, Green Bay 16, San Francisco 3. Rushing first downs, 4 for Green Bay, 13 for San Francisco. Here's where this gets really interesting to me. Total yards were almost dead even, only 4 apart, Bill, in that game. Each had 10 drives. Yards per play, 6.2 for Green Bay, 6.9 for San Francisco. Completions, 31 of 39. Listen to that. 31 of 39 for Rodgers. Now, he had a couple of them that went the wrong way.
Right.
San Francisco, 6 for 8. You can't throw picks when you only throw 8 passes for 69 yards. And you could make a case looking at this that Green Bay won. For example, time of possession, Green Bay almost 32 to 28. Here's where yards per rush, though. San Francisco, 6.8. And 285 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns. What I find interesting about that, Bill, is they didn't even lead in time of possession. 285 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns. They had 13 first downs rushing and only held the ball 28 minutes. Rodgers, 31 of 39, 326 yards, 2 TDs, 2 INTs. Garoppolo, 6 of 8, 77 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And Mostert, who we all knew was just going to blow it wide open because he's such a household name, 29 rushes, 220 yards, 4 TDs. Only Eric Dickerson has done more in an AFC championship game. And this guy's been in 4 or 5 different teams, Bill. I have to admit, I didn't know the guy. And I hate to say that, but I'm not going to tell you something that isn't so. I had no idea who this guy was.
I agree. I had no idea. It'll be, I don't know. I got to assume that was set up by design to try and run the ball and to take the air out of Aaron Rodgers. Just like I feel like,
that's fine.
Granted, that's Tennessee's motto too, and that's what they kind of tried to do. But when you stack the box and you don't have that threat, at least Jimmy G poses that threat to some degree.
Yeah.
He's not super accurate, which is weird because
but you got a good tight end to get the ball to.
I mean, I don't know. I can't get up for it. I just can't do it.
Well, it's a shame because if you'd have been on board for the last 12 weeks, like, I don't know, maybe me, you'd be fired up about it. But I'm still pulling for the Chiefs because I had the Chiefs in the Super Bowl losing to the Saints, who are at home crying in their gumbo.
Crying in the gumbo?
That's a great... we're going to write a reggae song for that.
That should be a new song for us.
That's right. Went to see the movie about the big elephant Dumbo. It was a sad movie, had me crying in my gumbo.
Scott Owens dropping beats here on Excessive Celebration on Crossover Radio Sports.
Yeah, man.
Reminding you, get that app and rush into serve today like you are a San Francisco running back.
Bill,
Yeah.
here we are. Welcome back to Excessive Celebration right here on Crossover Sports Radio, home of Southern Nazarene basketball and Putnam City basketball. Also the Crossover regular radio that brings you excellent programming from these very same studio high above beautiful downtown Bethany and right above my favorite, Billy's favorite, should be your favorite coffee shop provision on planet Earth, Serve. Bill, once again, many thanks to Jeremy and the Crossover management team for giving us this beautiful studio in which to come in here and enlighten, entertain, at least each other.
Hey, and this one's out for Rocky. They brought the heat.
Bringing the heat. That's all we were looking for, right?
I think that's all we wanted.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Couldn't be better. Bill, I think we need to at least wrap up the NFL. We talked NFC, AFC wise. Patrick Mahomes any good?
He's okay.
Yeah, he had 8 carries for 53 yards. Henry had 19 carries for 69 yards. Tannehill, if I would have told you that Ryan Tannehill was going to throw 21 for 31, 209 yards, and 2 touchdowns, at first glance you'd probably go, "Oh my goodness, they must have won." On second glance, you'd go, "How did they? Must have had trouble getting Henry going."
No,
on
I would
offense.
still think they've got Ryan Tannehill, and they should lose every game. No,
but somehow they beat the Patriots and beat the
all that being said,
Ravens.
I don't know that Ryan Tannehill's the future of this franchise.
No, he can't be.
But as far he very, very close in a different way. Alex Smith type.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I could almost see him with the Chiefs.
Controls the ball.
Yeah.
Not a ton of turnovers, but knows how to manage a game. He knows wide receiver routes. Obviously, it helps that you got Derrick Henry behind you, but
yeah, but
this team's got bigger weaknesses than I would
quarterback.
say their
no,
quarterback.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but so what do you do? I don't want to get too far off on this, but do you keep Mariota around, or what do you do?
No, you let him go.
All right.
You let it. I think the future for Mariota is not there. You can travel around the league and be a backup and wait for your shot again. Some team will probably give him a shot.
Right.
Because the regurgitation of quarterbacks who can't play in this league is almost like head coaching. Guys who can't coach that just keep getting jobs. I don't know what Mariota is in the NFL. I don't think he's a quarterback. I don't know if he can catch the ball and be a wide receiver. He's got elite speed, but
Is he a skinny Jalen Hurts?
Maybe that's a fair comparison. Yeah, I mean,
Hurts better north-south runner, but arm strength and arm capabilities similar.
I think
less
Hurts,
speed on the outside maybe for Jalen.
It'll be interesting to see how Hurts' running ability translates to the NFL. Obviously, bigger body, but the guys are faster. We all know that. So it'll be those 10-yard runs or 20-yard runs that he was getting. Are they now 7- and 5-yard runs? The fluctuation is going to be, it's going to be interesting to watch.
Sure.
How well he translates as far as throwing the ball, that's where he can make that separation from where Mariota is, because Mariota never made that jump.
Right. No, he didn't. Just real quick, Bill, rushing first downs, Tennessee 4. Third down efficiency, 3 for 10. They just never got their running game going, and when that's what you live for, that kind of puts you in a bind. Bill, what do you think about De'Aaron King? He's going to the University of Miami. All along, we talked about that deal. It never seemed legit. It never made sense that this guy was going to redshirt and then claimed that he was just going to redshirt and then come back and stay in Houston. That whole thing just never quite clicked for me. I didn't understand it. And
yeah, I mean,
it's a weird deal. And
It's-
why did I guess Holgerson couldn't do anything about
I'll
it.
be honest. I thought it was an interesting strategy, and I thought Holgerson probably came up with the idea to.
If he did, it backfired
Hey,
on him.
hey, let's redshirt this guy because next year we're going to be decent.
Yeah, and I'm going to take. It's my
And-
first year, and I can take a beating this year.
But that transfer portal, man, did that backdoor him.
Yeah,
I
it
don't-
really did.
I wonder if he talked about that anyway, though, because, maybe he went up to Holgerson and was like, listen, I need to play next year to lift my draft eligibility, but I don't see it here. I need to go somewhere. I need a red shirt. And maybe they were okay with it. I
Maybe
don't know.
so.
I don't know.
It was interesting though because the first team that kind of popped up was Arkansas, and if you remember, I threw out. I thought Gary Patterson should have been all over that kid when it
Yeah.
appeared that. But the Yoda seems to know. The sweaty Yoda seems to know more.
There's a lot of the teams for like.
But you did see who went to Arkansas.
Who's that?
Franks, the Florida quarterback.
Felipe.
Yeah. So Arkansas's got another maybe decent quarterback for 1 year. Program's in trouble
They've got a 500 season ahead of them.
if they're lucky.
It's such an interesting dilemma you have now. So you can't stack quarterbacks like you used to be able to. You can't stack really any position, and you can't go into some kid's home going, "Hey, we're gonna start you," and then not start them, and then because that week they can hit that transfer portal.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's got to be so hard to recruit people and them know. So if I've got Baker Mayfield for 2 years, hey, we're gonna play you right after Baker leaves. Okay, well let me sit for 3 years. And
Do you think it affects like the kid that what was his name, DeGraffenreid, whatever the kid that was the number one quarterback that had committed to OU and then decommitted,
yeah, well,
and now you got Morris's kid who's a 3-star coming in doing the horns down, and I guess he thinks he's going to play, and I don't see it happening.
okay, so it depends on the type of person you are, right? So let's just say I'm an elite quarterback, right? For me,
Okay.
he's top notch. For 98 rating on Madden. For me,
9.8.
I know that because of the team I'm wearing, and that's where I've always wanted to go, I'm going to go to Michigan, right? Regardless of the situation. But if I feel every quarterback or every position should feel like they can beat whoever is there out. If you are in this game and you're not doing that, then you shouldn't be in this game.
No. Well, you probably wouldn't have gotten to the level you
Right.
are to be asked to be a part of a legitimate blue blood program like a Michigan if you hadn't already had that mentality your whole career.
And honestly, there's going to be those certain situations like Adrian Peterson's ahead of you or something. Like I get that, right? But you've also got to weigh it out too. So on the other side of that is, can I play now? Do I feel like I'm good enough to get to the NFL realistically?
That's the key. And who's in your ear telling you?
Right.
That's the other
Right.
thing.
If you've got a bunch of yes men around you, you need to stop that right
Yeah.
now because all these guys that are committing early and they're the number 15th ranked player, guess what? Go join a practice squad for about 6 years and
Right.
then go work at that Burger King down the way. I just plugged 2 people that are not our sponsors. Come work at Served.
There you go. Yeah.
But so you've got to weigh a lot of options out, right? So if I'm a kid and I feel like I'm probably never going to go to the NFL, and there's more of that than there is
Sure.
people going to the NFL, then I'm going to the college of my choice and whoever I like.
Yeah.
Now, if I feel like I can play and I'm going to go play in the NFL, I may hit that portal or I may try it out. There's a lot of variables. that
Yeah,
come
and
into play.
again, you're adding a whole other layer of people wanting to give advice, because you've created this other literally portal to move that all of a sudden there's these influence peddlers and everybody else.
It's like an
getting involved.
onion. You have to peel it.
Yeah, or let it just bloom.
I've got layers.
It's a bloomin' onion.
So overall, what do you... So we all know you picked the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think the Chiefs are going to beat these 49ers?
I think that I had the Chiefs not had the ability to literally shut down Derrick Henry in that running attack, I probably would have leaned the other way. My thought is if they simply can make San Francisco make Jimmy Garoppolo have to beat you,
Right.
then I don't think their odds are that great in terms of being able to outscore Kansas City, understanding how good San Francisco's defense is. But if you force San Francisco offensively into having to throw the ball and you get 3 and outs against them, and you have that San Francisco defense have to spend all afternoon trying to keep up with Kansas City's offense, I think eventually Kansas City gets enough points that there's not enough juice left for San Francisco to catch them.
Does it bother you at all that the Chiefs in the last 2 games come out super slow?
Yes, and that's the reason I asked you in the break about the beginning of that game.
Right.
Is because one of the very first plays, he throws it to Kelsey on an in route, and it goes right through his hands and through his legs. And I had that brief, oh, man, this looks like last week. And then I
Right.
went, yeah, well, that turned out all right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sure. I mean, at some point, you're going to get behind somebody that you can't catch back up.
Yeah.
That'll happen. I just don't know if that happens. To me, it all boils down to, if you can stop San Francisco's interior running game, force Garoppolo to have to beat you with his arm, I think it's going to be tough for them.
No.
And I'm a fan of Garoppolo's, but what works for them? Him throwing a bunch of times or them running a bunch of times? I don't know. How about we ask Green Bay?
Well, and it could be interesting. So it could come down to a couple of different factors, right? So it's, can Kansas City establish a running game, or can San Francisco establish a passing game?
Yeah.
Or the reverse side, can San Francisco, just like you said, stop the passing game of Kansas City, or can Kansas City stop the run game of San Francisco? So many dynamics
Sure.
that I really liked what Tennessee employed with
Mhm.
Patrick Mahomes,
Mhm.
especially in the first half. They weren't rushing him to move him out of the pocket, because that's obviously when he's at his most dangerous.
Sure.
They were rushing him up, forcing him into the box, which that part of his game I think he can develop. I think he scrambles maybe a little bit too much, sometimes out of necessity, which
Yeah,
is
but
fully
usually because
understandable.
he's just comfortable. He
Yeah,
relies,
because
just knows he can.
it's like a baseball shortstop. That's
Yeah.
why he throws a sidearm. It's that aspect that, like Tom Brady, when he loses some of that speed, he's going to have to learn to work the pocket a little bit better than what he does now. Not saying he's terrible by any means. I'm just saying
Right.
you can tell
He hasn't even reached his prime
Yeah.
yet, though. That's the scary
that's
thing.
what's scary. Well, it'll be interesting. Like, say we get further down the years with Mahomes, and we'll say Tyreek's asking for too money, and Hardman's gone for whatever reason, right?
Got to get prosthetics for his family.
Right. How well do they transition? How well do they draft to fill in those voids, right? Because you can say the ultimate equalizer for everything is Tyreek Hill and the ability just to flat out run everybody, even without a running game. I think we're going to see Andy Reid be super open playbook, right? You're going to see some Tyreek
sure.
in the backfield. You may even see Tyreek just taking the snap.
Yeah, just straight snap.
The thing I don't want to see, and we've seen it way too much, and I hate that it's called this, but the Philly, like it's over. It's over. Like, figure out how to stop it, and let's stop calling this play, because it's a horrible play.
Right.
It worked once. I think it's worked maybe a total of 3 times
Right.
over this past season, but everybody seems to run it. I do like the fact that the Titans kind of put a little jab in there to Kansas City, and they so on one of their touchdown plays, they run this sweep and they give it to him across.
Yes.
And it's the same play that Kansas City used to beat New England, except they ran it with Kelsey, and San Francisco, or not San Francisco, Tennessee ran it with a tight end or something like that, or not a tight end, a wide receiver. But no, they ran it with Henry.
Yeah.
It was
okay.
just a little bit different setup of how they did it, and I just thought that was funny. I kind of like Vrabel.
You know, I was getting ready to say, I think he's a guy I would love to play for. He looks like he has a good time coaching. You know, Bill, going back to what you said, is both teams defensively are going to try to take away what the offense does best, right?
Right.
So, but the one guy on both sides of the ball that touches it no matter what,
The center.
besides the center,
The ref.
is the quarterback. And if you're asking me which one of those quarterbacks has the better opportunity and ability to adapt to having to do something outside of what they normally do, I'm leaning towards Mahomes.
I would too.
So that's, to me, and that's why, but I picked it close. I mean, I think it's going to be a great football game. I think it's going to be very close.
You're listening
as close as you and I.
I was going to say, you're listening to Excessive Celebration on Crossover Radio Sports, reminding you, get that app today. If you are a fan of Excessive Celebration, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Hit like, light up that chat box. We'll answer your question, just like we did Chase.
Conway Twitterer. Man, that's Joan Jett-like.
Oh, that's creepy. I saw the delay, and I did like some cat thing a while ago. Whatever that was.
You're Samantha from Bewitched.
I know. I tried.
I'll be your Darren Stevens. Bill, we're going to jump to the NBA, but I found something very interesting. You know, end of the year stuff's kind of fun. So, one of our favorite places for reference points put together the final 1 through 130 rankings.
Oh, because I needed that. I needed that in my life.
Well, I'll tell you why I did it, though. I did it because I wanted to see what the median ranking was for all the different Division I conferences. So, in other words, Big 12 has 10 teams. What was their total? You divide it by 10. That tells you what their rankings were. Okay? This was fun because I've got I did not do the Sun Belt. Okay, I did not do the Sun Belt.
That's what our fans are craving, the Sun Belt.
So I will work on that.
That
but
might
I
have been
have the
Sun
others.
Chips. I'm not sure.
Sun.
Dried tomatoes? Suntan
Stroke.
lotion?
Sunstroke.
Sunstroke.
Sunspot Baby. Bob Seger song. Okay, this will be fascinating to you, Bill. Here, I'm going to start with the lowest team that averaged. Their average out of the 130, the MAC came in at an average median team score ranking 90.8. Conference USA 80.4.
Really?
North or Mountain West 74.6. The American Athletic Conference 62.3. And you understand what we're doing here, right?
Yep.
All right. Of the top 5 major conferences, which conference do you think then had the highest, in other words, the worst ranking in terms of average rating for their teams?
I would say
It's kind of fun.
because you got like 2 anchors in the Big 10 and the Big 12 that would weigh down a conference. I got to think. ACC?
The ACC with an average of 58.6. Now, the 4th place team
Pac-12?
with an average of 54.3 is the Big 10.
Wow. Yeah, see, Rutgers, that's what was throwing me off is like your Rutgers, your Marylands and stuff like that.
Yes, you really got hammered there. In fact, you've got Rutgers, Northwestern at 115, Maryland at 104. Rutgers was 118.
And see, they're always going to bounce up and down because of what
Absolutely.
Northwestern does and all of them do, yeah.
Sure. So the Big was 54.3. The Pac was 3rd at 54. Came in just ahead of the Big 10.
A bunch of 500 teams is what it is.
The Big 12, 47.7. The SEC, 45. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because what we did talk about was that there was obviously top to bottom. You have to give it to the SEC, but they were top heavy and bottom heavy. And this kind of proves that out.
Well, no.
I just found it very interesting that the Big 12, frankly, was that high. We got other college stuff we'll talk about through the off season. Got some interesting stuff. One thing, Bill, I've got the newest draft rankings for the top 2 rounds. So we'll move right on now into the NBA, and always have that there in case we want to revisit any of that.
NBA time, Scott.
Basketball Jones. I got a Basketball Jones. I got a Basketball Jones, baby. Ooh. Okay.
I feel like I should. Here, do it one more time.
Basketball Jones. I got a Basketball Jones. I got a Basketball Jones, baby. Ooh.
You like the jazz hands at the end?
I like jazz any way I can get it. Got some mid-season report cards to hand out, Bill. Can't wait for your feelings about it. Feelings. Nothing more than feelings. You ready?
I'm ready.
One team gets an A+.
Milwaukee Bucks.
One team gets an A.
Lakers.
5 teams get a B+.
Rockets. Clippers.
Nope.
No?
Celtics. Heat. Sixers. Clippers. Thunder.
Hey, how about your boys and getting Kemba Walker, which is just I don't know who's keeping track of all that, but Kemba Walker, his first win over LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron's teams. Whoever's just like, oh, you know what? Marcus Smart hasn't beaten.
Who does that?
Like, what? How obsessed is somebody that he hasn't beaten whoever? Like, oh, you know what? Yep, Marcus Smart hasn't beaten Brian Scalabrine for
Right.
20 years.
Right.
Like, who cares?
Yeah, because
Who
you can order
cares?
Scalabrini at Bellini's.
Comes on the side, served in ice.
Absolutely. So the interesting thing here, Bill, though, is that again, some of this is weighed against what expectations were, obviously, but getting a B are the Pacers, the Raptors, the Mavericks, the
Yeah.
Nuggets, and the Rockets.
Well, and here's the upside to the Pacers. You still don't have a full team
Exactly.
because Oladipo hasn't come back.
Exactly, and he'll make Sabonis even better. I think they'll just enhance that.
They're going to be interesting. They could be a team that makes some moves.
Now, here's one I disagree with. 2 weeks ago, if you'd have told me the Jazz were a B minus, I'd have bought into that. But they're 30-13, and they're looking.
Well,
they're playing a little better now, and I think you've got somebody taking charge again
I
instead
was gonna
of
say
Gordon.
the acquisition to get Jordan Clarkson, who is a phenomenal offensive basketball player.
First
They-
American Idol winner, wasn't it?
Well, no, wasn't he the one that
that
was
was
with
Kelly.
Paula
Kelly
Abdul?
Clarkson,
No, that's the other
yeah.
one. It's it's weird when you can bring in just one guy and how that kind of resurges or recharges your battery. I don't think Utah's legit. I think they've got some of the right pieces around, but I feel like they need to kind of blow it up just a little bit.
But to get to what, second place in the West? I mean,
You've got to,
you know what I mean? It's like
they've gotta
legit compared
create-
to like getting to the finals.
Well, they got to create a bigger splash. So whether that means you get rid of, you're not getting rid of Mitchell,
I hope
and
not.
you're not going to get rid of Gobert. That's your two stays. But to me, everybody else on that team is free game.
What about the other guard?
I think like I said, free game. Just because, are we managing expectations or are we going to manage to win a title? What are we going to do? I would say every fan wants you to win a title. I get Cap. I get everything like that. But let's win a title. I'm tired of teams. I'm going to say it's tanking for you not trying to push your team one way or the other. If you don't make moves to make your team better, or if you don't make moves to make your team worse to get higher in the draft, you're not doing your job right. It's one or the other. It can't be, we're going to stand pat like the Thunder did for, 2-3 years, and they bring in all these little pieces that don't help your team.
How much does owing somebody draft picks affect where they have to be of a certain level,
Right.
or you don't get to do the deal, affect how you play getting down past the All-Star break and towards? There's a lot of pieces to these puzzles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so much is predicated on what one team does, like what the Heat do for Oklahoma City or what Oklahoma City does for whoever. There's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
Like a lot to keep track of. NBA trade season is probably my favorite time of the year.
It reminds me of the old Star Trek series where they played 3 levels of chess. That
Right.
was three-dimensional, and you could go this way or what. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good
So
luck.
you need then the kind of guys that we were just making fun of
Yeah.
that can tell you whether they beat Scalabrini. That's what you
I'll
got.
go get Howard and Sheldon. And,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Bill, one team gets an incomplete. Which one do you suppose it was? We were just talking about a member of that team who is recording triple singles on a regular basis.
I'm sorry. We talked about this earlier. Charles Barkley is hilarious. And so there he references, if you go to our Facebook page, you can see the post, and it's from Sports Center, but Charles Barkley puts out a post or comments on a post of Draymond Green saying, well, nobody really cares about Draymond since he's averaging a triple single, which
So
is hilarious.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And it's so true.
Of course, that's what makes it so funny.
And what's interesting, so
I just wished I could have heard him say it because it would have been beautiful.
the beginning of the year,
He's terrible.
you lose Steph, right? And so they go through this lull of where they don't really have a team, and it's kind of up in the air and what's going on. And Draymond gets injured, and then they're playing terrible. And then, terrible. And then Draymond comes back, and they play a little bit better. This team plays really, really hard. They just don't have the talent to compete where they need to compete. They'll jump up there and win a game or two, but they don't have the talent to compete really with anybody.
No.
And so you're seeing a lot of these guys, your Alec Burks, who I think they're going to end up trading at some point because he's
These
good
just
trade
guys
bait.
keeping the chair warm for Thompson and everybody to come back into that. Do you believe that once next year or once they do that we're going to see some revival?
I don't know. It's going to be depending on pieces because you're still going to have to find a center because Cauley Stein's not the answer.
What are you going to do with D'Angelo?
I would trade him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would trade him now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to play for. As far as you're only drafting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever, whatever it shakes out to be. I try to acquire assets, alleviate cap, and he's going to be owed a lot of money at some point.
Right.
I don't feel. I thought it might fit with him and Steph. I feel like it's awkward, and especially when you get Clay back in town.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be even more awkward.
Yeah, it's going to be like Mean Girls.
I really thought with all of those guys being out, that Draymond would step up his game, and that growth really isn't there. It's more capped than what we thought it was going to be. So
I heard Marcus Smart compared to Draymond Green from the standpoint that he's doing things for the Celtics that are similar to what Draymond Green
it's all the little
contributes
things
to
and the
Golden
attitude.
State.
Yeah, I mean they're the heartbeats of those teams.
Yeah,
and it's stuff you don't really get to see a lot in the stat box.
Yeah,
I mean obviously Draymond can average a triple-double if he probably wanted to, but until they fully develop their games, as far as Draymond being, which is weird, Draymond could shoot the three at one point and then all of a sudden lost confidence in it. Like you're on Golden State,
yeah,
you're realistically a splash brother too.
Well,
so.
yeah, the rims there are twice as wide.
Yeah,
right?
You're playing with beach balls.
That's right.
And Marcus Smart the same way. Marcus Smart can drive with the best of them, but Marcus Smart can not shoot a jumper.
This is probably before your time, but Marcus Smart is the new version of an old guy that played for the Celtics named Austin Carr.
Yeah. Played also with the Utah Jazz in the finals.
Was really more of a inspirational kind of leader late in his career. Yeah. Was never the guy, but he was the guy.
He was a big dude.
Yeah,
I remember that. He was thick.
Now,
thick dude.
Bill, I got two teams that are carrying Fs. They're both in the Eastern Conference.
One of them's got to be the Hawks.
10-34.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other belongs in this same. They're 12-32. And the reason they get an F is because they should get an F from the ownership straight down the line.
The Pistons?
Nope. New York Knicks.
Oh, yeah. Man, that was a softball. I should have had that.
Pistons slide in above the Hornets, Bulls, Cavs, and New Orleans, who are all D-minuses. The Pistons, Wizards, Timberwolves, Sacramento.
I love the Sacramento.
Oh, me too. He was great in that one Godfather movie. And then Portland all getting Ds. Can Kanter hold up in the playoffs for the Celtics?
I don't know. This version of Kanter doesn't seem like last year's version of Kanter.
Yeah.
It feels like he struggles starting.
Yeah.
It feels like he plays better off the bench.
But they aren't Horford and whoever they had last year. Kanter and who was the other?
I'm not a huge fan of Horford, even though Kanter actually, when he went to Portland last year, thrived.
Yes.
Even though he had to start at that point, but I feel like he's a better bench player.
I do too. I still pull for the guy though. I think he's about as good a dude as there is.
I think he's got a lot of other stuff going on outside of basketball that there's a reason why he may not be 100, but if you watch him on Twitter, he's hilarious.
Oh, I know. But how would you like to walk around when people got like laser pointers and stuff?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel for the guy. Okay, here's rapid fire number 2 for you, Bill. Okay. Adebayo, Robinson, Nunn, Hero. Unbelievable year so far. Now let me ask you this question: any possible credit go to Eric Spoelstra for what's happening there?
Absolutely none.
Okay.
You watch any TV channel, any sports channel, any sports radio. Pat Riley is a genius.
Oh, I agree.
And I think it's only Pat Riley. I'm sorry.
How funny is it that as big a name and as much credit as we're giving Pat Riley, and he deserves every bit of it, you could say that he's almost the greatest GM slash program builder of all time, except for one guy, and it was the same guy that he had to play behind as the backup point guard, Jerry West. He couldn't beat Jerry West on the basketball court.
Yeah, can you imagine that logo?
Think about
greased up hair.
Oh yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, here the guy is as good as, it's almost like being Phil Mickelson through the Tiger era. Nobody could touch you, but you couldn't finish any higher than second. How about this? How much can the young guns like Barrett and Knox continue to take the beating they're taking in New York before they just give it up?
I was going to say, the only person that's thrived in that whole situation is the Morris brother.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only one that's
survived.
Looks like he's accelerated his game. I feel bad for RJ Barrett, and I feel even more horrible for Knox, just because his game's been stifled, because essentially him and RJ Barrett are very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Knox can probably shoots it a little bit better, but he doesn't get the opportunity. And I don't know what kind of team they're really trying to run out there, because you got a weird mix of veterans who, I don't know that I would surround all my young talent with those guys. Not that saying that they're super horrible or anything, but it's just a weird collection of players that doesn't make sense or fit. So, if I'm the Knicks, I blow everything up on that team. I take Knox and I trade him, because I think Knox is going to be capped. It's kind of almost the Buddy Yield situation.
Yeah.
Where when he's with the Pelicans, it kind of feels like he's stifled, even though it should have worked. And then you take him to the Kings, and he's kind of thrived.
How much money is it costing the league and all the owners collectively for a franchise that's playing in New York City at Madison Square Garden to blow? I mean, at some point, when does the Board of Governors or whatever they're called pick up the phone and go, "Hey, dude, this isn't working for us"? They found a way to get rid of the guy that owned the Clippers, that was the slumlord and racist, and I'm not sure that this guy's an upstanding dude or whatever.
You can tell there's no I'm in it to win it with him. It's just like, okay, ho hum, we're gonna do your halftime show.
That has to hurt the league.
As a player, why would you want to go there?
It's because
outside the mystique that once was.
But you want to walk down 42nd Street with people going, "Yeah, you guys got blown out by 28 from Brooklyn. I can't even go across the bridge now in my gear." Yeah, I don't get it, man. That's a tough team to watch. Let me ask you this.
Well, let's hit this quick break and we'll come back with more NBA
I'm going to give you I want to know what you think if Embiid and Simmons can be consistent enough to keep the train on the tracks
if they stay
all
healthy.
the way to the finals.
No, not to the finals.
Can't get past the Greek Creek. Huh?
No.
Well, they better get it done this year, because he's out of there after that.
I think he stays.
Yeah, we'll see.
You're listening to Excessive Celebration on Crossover Radio Sports, reminding you, get that app today. Coming to serve. Get some coffee. It's nice and hot.
That music makes me smile, Billy.
Ah, happy reggae man.
I had one more question for you about the East before we shift gears over to the West Side. Embiid, Simmons. Simmons has played really well lately. Actually can find the basket with the ball. You said, I teased when he came out of there, what do you think? And you said they got to stay healthy. Do they have the pieces to at least get to the finals? The Eastern Conference Finals?
I would say yes, because...
Do they match up the best then, big man to big man against the Freak?
I don't think anybody in this league matches up with him, honestly. So there's that level...
Atlanta.
Yeah, there's that level that only few guys can hit, right? So your LeBrons, your Kobe's, as far as aggression, talent, maybe weird athleticness or whatever it may be, right? There's that weird level that only certain guys can hit.
Perkins.
Beard game on point.
Thank you.
Greek Freak and Russell Westbrook have that.
Yeah.
Like, just unparalleled want to will a team that probably more so than I would say anybody in the past couple of years, maybe even always dating or all the way dating back to Jordan, that we want to win. Now, I will say, to me, it feels like
I would say Iverson and Derrick Rose are pretty close to
Iverson's
that.
a good one. Derrick Rose
Just hurt too much. But
yeah.
he still had, from a physical freaks didn't get to the rim, I think he was pretty good. But Iverson and...
I would
think
still
so.
Iverson, yeah. I would consider it a different level though between Derrick Rose and
That's fair.
And Giannis.
No,
and
that's fair.
It's just that when you can take an all-star game and make it seem like you're not trying and you're crushing people, regardless of if they're really playing or
Right.
not. That last all-star game was Giannis's all-star game.
Yeah, but Bill, you know what happens whether it's an all-star game or you're out in the front yard and you're all geared up, you and your buddy are playing two of your other buddies, and it goes badly for one team early.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we weren't trying there at the end. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think there's a little of that in the all-star game. But he broke their will in order to get to that point.
I've probably said this before, but is James Harden that guy that plays at like the church rec league that comes in with like the knee pads and the goggles, and he's got that old man game where he can just shoot from three from
Never
anywhere,
gets off the floor.
never leaves the floor. How does he know how to Euro step? Just an offensive wizard. Makes these like no look passes, and you're like, wait a minute. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, was he
what?
here last week? He
And-
wasn't here last week. was
And he was the last pick on the team, and he just crushes.
Yeah. I never knew what that felt like.
So real quick on this NBA topic, since
Yes,
we do
sir.
have trade rumors spreading about.
Right.
So it feels like everything that I've read and looked at that the Detroit Pistons are going to disband.
Detroit basketball.
You've got so many offers as far as Drummond going several different places, and none of them really make sense. And I don't know what you do with Andre Drummond.
What do you do with Blake Griffin? He's hurt though.
He's
isn't he?
another one. Like, you know what? So you take, I got you the perfect 2-point team in the NBA. Drummond, Blake, center power forward. Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to find a two guard.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can find a two guard that only shoots twos,
Andre.
Robertson's a good one.
That's what I'm here for, filling the gaps.
But I mean, this day and age, yeah, Blake's got a lot of freakish athleticness to him, but it's not still there all the way because of the injuries.
Right.
So he doesn't shoot deep. I mean, he can, but he doesn't do it often.
Yeah.
Is he a liability on defense, or does he help?
Yeah, I think he's got to be. I think you got to probably.
How tough is he really, though? Could you play him small ball? I don't know that he matches up with Anthony
Yeah,
Davis.
can he keep up? And then you're right, because when you're known for your unbelievable athleticism, and that starts to slip, and it's not your shot, and it's not your ability to defend, you're right. How long can you keep somebody on the floor like that? what's his plus minus look like?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The other big name that's out there is Derrick Rose too, going somewhere, just anywhere else essentially, and he's actually played really, really well.
Yeah, but he still has his thorns, because every Rose does.
The team that I find very interesting, and I have no idea why I find them interesting, because I guess the collection of young talent and how they drafted over the last couple of years I find a little strange and odd, but it's not working, is the Chicago Bulls.
Oh my goodness! What are they doing?
So you've got, and I'm going to butcher his name, Satoransky, that played in Washington, and is a very capable point guard.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Archie Diacomo, which Villanova fans know very, very well. Again,
right,
a good point guard, but probably a backup point guard in this league. You got Colby White, who you just drafted out of North Carolina, who, again, rookie, he's going to have his growing pains.
Boy, Carolina could use him this year.
You bring in Zach LaVine, who you think is going to be the man. Find out that his defense is not there. Offensively, he's gifted. He can jump out the gym. We all knew that to begin with. You've got guys like Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr., that essentially play the same position and should kind of feed off each other, but they don't. Markkanen has taken a step back from where he was last year. This is a team that needs that veteran, a better veteran than anything they've got on their list that can really help mentor this team. I think eventually they could get there.
Yeah.
But nobody on that team screams defense to me to where they're going to stop anybody at any point in time, especially with Embiid being as young and tall and as talented as he is. He's just going to wreck them every year.
Yeah. Yeah. It's another franchise, though, that you think that the NBA is so much better off if they're flourishing. And I don't think anybody really questions, at least at the ownership level, maybe the general manager level, some of the acquisitions. But that's a franchise that shouldn't stay down too long.
Yeah, I would say they've drafted really well. Some of the years of where they've taken them are a little strange, and I get trying to, at least they're trying to do something as far as bringing in like LaVine, and I would say drafting appropriately for team needs, other than just let me draft a center, let me draft a center, let me draft a center. Finally, we figured out with Embiid, right? It didn't make sense.
Right.
The other team that I like to watch, even though they're just horrible, and it's only because of one guy, is the Atlanta Hawks.
Sure.
The Hawks are interesting, obviously, just because of Trae Young.
Yeah, I love watching him play defense.
You notice his hair's falling back. It's the only thing getting back. I'm sorry, Trae. I can't really talk that much about hair, but man, shave that off.
It's kind of like when Christopher Walken's got a better do.
He's an interesting player to watch, just because it's another version of Steph Curry.
Yeah.
And the range is ridiculous. Offensively, it feels like he could probably put up 60 every night, and it probably breaks a ton of records as he goes along in his career.
While they continue to finish in the bottom third of the conference.
Yeah, the pieces that they put around him should be awesome. Like the Hunter kid, Herter, Jared Collins, John Collins. I can't figure out why he's regressed a little bit, but it's not the same Collins that we saw last year. He's Dwight. Think Dwight Howard when he was in Orlando.
Okay.
A freak of an athlete, body chiseled out of stone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just like yourself. And
thank you.
You just can't figure out why these guys have regressed so far. That's a team where if you really wanted to, because of the promise of those young guys, you could trade them and get assets to build maybe a little bit better around what they're trying to do at point guard.
Right. Bill, is it hard to say, hey, come play for us so you can watch Trae?
You just have to have the right mentality.
Yeah.
And it depends on how you want to grow it. If you put like Trae and, say, J.J. Redick, how great would those two be feeding off each other?
J.J.'s been a little bit of a disappointment, I think, so far this year.
I think that's another guy that moves.
Yeah. Well, and here's a question I have for you real quick.
Yep.
Dallas going to stand pat, or do you look to move somebody like Hardaway Jr. or Seth Curry or Smith or Powell? Or
They've got to make a move. Now, we said his name. Think about that fit going to Dallas, J.J. Redick. I would gladly. I mean, no offense to Tim Hardaway. I love the guy. But, man, that's a little bit of an upgrade if you go to J.J.
No, I agree.
And especially with what Luka can do.
So what about, now we hear that Paul George, hamstring issues again. We're very familiar with that.
Yeah.
He missed the first 11 games of the year. Now he's got hamstring issues. You know, I was really high on this team at the beginning of the year. I don't know now, Bill. I don't know if I figured they would be the LA team that managed to stay healthy and that we would see the old man and AD struggling injury-wise, and frankly, it's been the other way around.
I think you're going to see both LA teams make a move. I think Doc will figure it out and do a lot of load management later on in the season.
I think Kuzma needs to get traded because I don't think he's lived up to any. I think he's watching the other two, Bill.
We talked about that last show about them probably should have keeping Hart instead of Kuzma.
Right.
Felt like the better fit.
Kevin's so short, though.
But he can ball. He's won the MVP in the celebrity game like 5 years in a row.
Yeah, Secret Life of Pets.
The bunny.
Great movie. Great movie.
He's an interesting piece. There's a lot of rumors that he's being traded or they want to move from him. I don't know what you get in return, but realistically, he's your only trade asset.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, outside of moving Rondo and Derrick Rose, going back to Rose real quick, talking about him going to Lakers and as a part of some other places too. I mean, Derrick Rose, it would be an upgrade over what you got with Rondo.
I just wonder how long he can stay on the floor.
I don't know. At this point, Caruso is going to be in the All-Star game. Yeah. I'm just letting you know that.
I have one other fascinating thing to throw your way, and I don't know this. I wrote this down, and now, based on one other thing, I think we ought to at least, maybe we could ask our listeners to tell us this. It's very possible that the Spurs don't make the playoffs this year.
Let's hope so.
It's been since 1997, right?
That was the year before Tim Duncan, right?
What I would like to know is, when was the last time that both the San Antonio Spurs and the North Carolina Tar Heels weren't one or the other playing basketball post-conference tournament?
1997. No, that's a great question.
Because it's looking right now like the Tar Heels aren't even at 500. I don't think the last time I looked at Racketology, they were nowhere to be found. They weren't even in the last four out or the last four after that.
Yeah. You're always going to have growing pains in college. There's no way you can tell what a kid's going to do or what he can't do. Obviously, you get some guys that are some big names that you know can ball, but there's those other guys, the fill-in players, that may live up to hype or not live up to hype. And let's be honest, it's not always the big-name players that go out and get you a championship.
Right.
I mean, we haven't seen a Kentucky team win a championship in a long time, and they've
right.
recruited better than anybody.
Yeah, I don't remember anybody going out of their way to talk about Virginia or Villanova. Not that they don't have great players, but it isn't like Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, in terms of high profile.
I would even say I know Colby White got drafted and was drafted super high, but I could make a case that May was a better player on North Carolina last year than any of them. And he wasn't more sought after than Colby White was.
Right.
So it all varies.
Well, it's fascinating, and it's just hard for me to sit back and realize there could very well be a postseason without Roy Williams and Greg Popovich. And without Sweaty Yoda, who didn't play in a postseason this past year. So what are the odds?
I think I'm going to update our photo to have little Sweaty Yoda on it.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be awesome.
With in a Horned Frogs jersey,
little Sweaty Yoda
with his guitar. Yeah, he's not my favorite.
So am I giving you the picks as far as our pick segment? or am I holding them off until next week?
No, we're gonna if we're ready to go to that now.
Let's just go to it.
Okay.
Real quick though. Update. I teased it last show and I forgot about it, and I'm sorry. Never happen again.
Teaser.
Super Pork Chop Bowl.
Yes.
I have made a decision.
Okay.
And it has come down to the final two.
All right.
So in the comment box below, I need you to write or type or draw it on your computer.
Calligraphy.
Sticky note it. Who has the most disappointing season in college football this year? I'm taking my vote away because it was split. So is it Michigan or the University of Texas? For the championship in the Super Pork Chop Bowl, who had the most disappointing season in college football? Let us know down below.
Yeah, I would say if we were doing this show from Ohio, it might go a different way than how
Yeah.
I think it's going to go.
It would just be Michigan. I'll put a poll just for the fans of our page here. Again, if you're on Crossover Radio Sports, go visit us on Facebook. Vote on this poll. I'll put a poll up. You guys vote, and we'll have a winner for the first ever
That'll be
Super
awesome.
Pork Chop Bowl.
Bill, as we mentioned, we'll climb further and further into college hoops as we go. I think we needed to take the dives we took into the NBA and some of the other things we talked about. But just to kind of wet your whistle in terms of bracketology, the Big East has 6, the Big 12 has 5, the SEC has 5, Pac 5, ACC 5, American 3, West Coast 3, Atlantic 10 2. The Big Ten has 11 teams in the tournament as of today.
There's a lot of struggling going on then this year.
That's pretty amazing.
Honestly, this may be one of the toughest fields to figure out who really is the best team. I think we're going to get a team that is good but not super great.
Right.
That's going to win this thing.
Here's your brackets real quick, just the very top 4. Baylor, Gonzaga, Kansas, and San Diego State, with Dayton, Florida State, Michigan State, and Duke, followed by Butler, West Virginia, Louisville, and Seton Hall, Auburn, Oregon, Villanova, and Maryland. That's your top 16. And how about the fact that we've got 2 number 1 seeds from the Big 12 conference right there? But 11, Bill. That means there is not an easy out wherever you go in that league. Especially, is it Wisconsin that has the court that sits up and everybody sits down below and you just keep waiting for somebody to lose an ankle or whatever it might be?
Yeah, it gets that way whenever you get into tournament time when they get to the, is it the Elite Eight or the Final Four when they start that?
Oh, man.
I hate that elevated.
Yeah.
I hate the elevated floor. It just doesn't. It just feels like it's destined for injury.
Yeah, and Wisconsin's Fieldhouse has that. I've never cared for that. Well, Bill, is it time for Sky Q segment?
It is time for Sky Q.
Bill, he's 88 and 58. I'm 88 and 58. You're below that.
What y'all don't know is if I pick the other way from you guys, it's worth 100 points and I win.
Well, I told Skyler that I felt at least the last few weeks of the year that your only chance was to look at where you thought it would go and go the other way. And he thought that strategy was questionable. I think it's brilliant.
So here's what we got, listener. It all comes down to this. Both Sky Q and Scott took Kansas City. The tiebreaker is going to be the points. So, Scott, combined points, you have 59.
Yes.
Combined points, Sky Q has 52. He took the under.
Oh, man.
He took the under.
I promise you, I wrote this down, I sent it to you, and I was sitting there, I was going, if what I'm saying is right, then this won't probably be as high scoring as I think it will be. Maybe I should go 27-24, 28-24, something like that.
If he would have picked 53 and it ended up being 56,
wow,
that would have been a little needle right there, a little jab.
Yeah.
Little jab.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go on the other side. I don't know who's going to win this game. I feel like it's going to be Kansas City, but I'm going to go with the 49ers.
I don't blame you because you know
49ers.
what? You've had Jimmy G's back the whole year, Bill.
And his
front.
Front.
Yeah.
And side and left side.
I thought that was great when what's her name, Bill, Erin Andrews, interviewed him and said,
Oh,
"You're
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
interview him, baby."
Yeah.
She's, she was fine with all that. Understood that's a term. Hey, baby,
Yeah.
we're gonna win it, baby. Had nothing to do with the Me Too movement or any
Right,
of that other
right.
stuff. She's nice.
You're listening to Excessive Celebration on
We're nice.
Crossover Radio Sports, reminding you get that app coming to serve today. And as always, find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Catch up on clips, highlights, or if you just want to see Scott dance.
I'll do it, Bill, because next week Super Bowl preview
Ooh.
and deep dive into NCAA hoopdom.
Oh, Scott, you tease.